That's right.
She's off her game today.
I'm on it.
She's tired.
I'm on it like Fondant. What is this? Okay.
Are we live?
Allegedly.
We are.
Allegedly, we're live.
Oh, I'm getting alerts that we're live, so that's
So
good.
that must be live. Good.
All right.
Great. Hey, happy Margarita Monday.
Happy
I don't
Margarita
think anyone's
Monday.
on, but who cares?
Hi, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Or no
Oh,
one.
my God.
Cheers.
Wow, Gelman was heavy with the pours tonight, huh?
Meanwhile, where'd he go?
Okay. I
He
don't
left.
know. He left.
Did
We've
he?
got a couple of people on Facebook. If you're on, drop us a note. Tell us you said hi. On Insta, give us a wave. Here
Hi,
we go.
Georgia. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Mom.
Oh,
Oh,
hi to you too.
wow.
Thank you, Carol.
Carol, what about the rest of us?
I was feeling
She didn't know you guys. Listen. She didn't. I didn't tell her specifically to say hi to you too.
I appreciate the hello, Carol. Thank you.
Hi, Carol.
Guess you get mulligan for one day.
Yeah,
Mm.
one time.
So,
Ed's here. All right, good.
Okay,
thank
good.
goodness.
He's
All
got
right.
his volume on 100, so
Yeah.
he's in the back. That's great.
Okay.
Hi, April.
I don't know why we can't see who's on
Oh, look at this.
Instagram.
I was gonna say, we got
Usually
all
we
these
can
people
see
on
it.
our
Yeah, that's
Instagram
so
over here.
weird.
Kyle's on over here. That's awesome.
Hi,
going on,
Kyle. Where are you?
Where in the world is Kyle?
I think he's still in America.
Hi, Jeannie.
Diego.
Hi,
Hi,
Mom.
Colleen.
Hi, Colleen.
Hi,
Oh.
hi to the gentleman.
Okay.
Carol.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Hi,
I
Mary
made it.
Beth.
Not only that, but we are gentlemen.
Yeah.
She doesn't know
Someone
you well
doesn't know
enough.
us.
She doesn't know you well enough.
Mary
So,
Beth, we have
no.
a package going out to you tomorrow.
Special
treat
package
for
coming
you.
your way. Keep your eye out on your mail.
Very exciting. If I was smart, I would have mailed it with her.
It's the
Sorry.
cardboard cutout of me and Kim. No, I'm just kidding.
if I was smart, I would have mailed it with her hat and her medal.
Hi,
but
Christine.
I'm not that organized,
Well, that's okay.
so that's okay.
She gets an extra package. Hi, Marcia. I don't know. Usually we
All
can
right.
see, but
I
anyway,
know
All
Instagram
right, Kyle
is
says
acting
he's going to
weird
Iceland in a
tonight.
week.
back to Iceland
Man.
in 1 week. He
All right.
must be super happy.
We're gonna all live vicariously through Kyle's pictures.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, no
I
pressure,
know,
Kyle, but-
seriously.
So he's home now, but going back to
Yes.
Iceland in a week.
In a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Everyone's
like
always
it.
asking me where he is. I'm like,
Walter
I
Mitty
don't know.
style.
I don't know where he is.
Yeah.
So,
Great
All
movie.
right.
okay. So you've got the best crew in town. You've got Maverick, Goof. You've got Iceman
You
and
forgot who was
Viper.
who.
I don't even know what that
Absolutely
means.
did.
You
Kim
did.
has no idea what it
Did
means.
did
Justin, I
did
feel like my
did.
hair is still hiding you, but I don't know what
It's
to
okay.
do. Okay.
It's fine. It's good.
Fine.
And because of copyright, we can't actually play the music.
No,
We
but
could sing it if we knew it.
Nobody wants that.
highway to the
Oh my
danger
God.
zone. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
All right.
Hi,
Keep us on the
George.
whole
So George with the Merlot tonight. I love it.
Merlot. Nice.
Okay. So
What are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about
We're talking about heart rate training.
heart rate zone training.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
This is now.
So,
weird.
you know, it
There we
looked
go.
weird in there, but it was.
I'm like, is that what happens when you're drunk?
for-
It just
thanks for
goes
cleaning him
askew?
up.
My mom just said, "What's up with John?" And we were
Yeah.
wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
Actually,
What's up with me?
Not we're wondering. We're
Yeah.
still wondering.
right?
Yeah.
We're
So-
not sure what's up with John.
But you still let me back every week, so
We
Yeah.
sure do.
Correct.
All right.
Mm.
What is going on
Okay.
with Instagram?
So I don't know. We're telling your followers, yeah. But,
Yeah.
but it says there's a couple of people
So
watching.
we must be on because he's watching on
Yeah.
Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Ed, make a comment on Instagram.
and maybe Margarita make a
So-
comment.
Yeah.
Gelman.
Ed. All right.
Anyway,
So-
okay. So let's just start with super basic. Like, what is heart rate zone training? Like, what do we mean when we say that?
All right. So
We don't
yeah, where
No,
your
it didn't
comments
come
not
up.
showing up.
Weird.
Bummer.
all right.
Should we go out and back in, or does it matter?
I think as long as people can see it, it's fine. As long as if you're on Instagram on the Fleet Feed Instagram, then we're not able to see your comments.
Yeah, just FYI.
So just FYI, we're not being ignored.
Instagram's
Instagram
being
usually
annoying.
doesn't give us problems. It's usually
I know.
Facebook.
Yeah.
It's weird. Okay,
All right.
we have a good
Company.
audience here on Facebook.
All right.
Okay, heart rate
All right.
zone
So-
training.
Yeah. All right.
What is it?
So heart rate zone training, right, is the basing your training on your heart rate zone, right? So
Did you just use the word to define the word?
I did. My,
All right.
my like sixth grade English teacher. did the same thing.
Yeah, rolling over to the
Yeah.
grave. If she, I don't know. Maybe
No,
I just dated
She's
her.
definitely still,
All right.
She's in the gym on a regular basis. so.
Okay, that's good.
But so I think the biggest thing is to understand a couple of like ground rules for heart rate zone training, because it's kind of a popular buzz thing that people talk about.
Mhm.
And so the first thing is that your heart rate zone is different from everybody else that you're training with, right? So
so let's back up. Why would
let's
we
back
want to even consider heart rate training? So like let's start there. Like why would someone even want to think about doing that? Like I'm training for a half marathon.
are you there?
Well, I'm not. I gotta go.
That was joke number one right
Yeah.
there. So just so you know.
Training, training. For
No, I'm definitely not training for much of
Right.
anything
All right.
other than drinking margaritas. But I'm
Story
just saying,
changes.
like, why would somebody want to
Yeah.
use heart rate training?
Right. All
It's
right.
more, you get more accurate.
Yeah. So it's more personalized for you,
Okay.
right? So if you think about when you're training, your goal is to make yourself more efficient at
Right.
producing and absorbing energy and what you're trying to do, right? And so by basing your training on your heart rate, then you're making sure that you train your body to become more efficient in specific energy zones.
Okay, that makes a lot of good sense.
That
I
makes
like
sense.
that.
And
Yep.
running is also a
That's good.
sport where it's really easy to cross that line of doing way too much, way too early.
Right.
It's that whole, like, you have to like do step one in the instructions before you go to step two and step three if you're putting stuff together that relies on steps in order. And so in the beginning, you have to create a nice foundation, and most people can go out too quickly. And if it's just a little bit too much, will put you over that edge, and you can, you know, kind of shoot yourself in the foot early on. So
Well, we see that all the time, and with our training
Yeah.
group participants, a lot of the new ones are running super hard every single run,
yeah.
Right.
and then you don't really get faster that way. You just get hurt and burned out.
Because your body needs time to recover. And if you're not doing those easy runs, like when you see all these memes and stuff online now, it's like, you know, running slow will make you faster. And people don't really understand why. And the bottom line is that running slow, or like a zone 2 run, means that your body has more time to recover from the harder effort runs and workouts that you're doing.
Right.
And you can
Also-
add more volume is
Yep.
the other thing.
So also we should start to separate the idea of pace and your heart rate, right? So
Yeah, good
not
point.
running
Yeah.
slow.
Let's talk about
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So your pace is not, it can be related, right? One can cause the other,
Right.
but you shouldn't think of running at a lower heart rate necessarily as running slow.
So Spencer Johnson, right? He runs in a zone 2, and it's a 5 minute and 45-second pace.
Which is
Right.
very similar to my
So,
zone 2.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Is that
When he's on the bike.
No,
Yep.
right.
So
fair
it's
Or
point?
his
Fair
Subaru.
point.
I don't
right. So
Oh
it's
my
different
God.
for everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
different for everyone.
It's very
Everyone's
different.
And it's
individual.
different on any given day, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Conditions.
That's the
yep.
other reason heart rate training is so much better, is because you can't trick heart rate. No matter what the conditions, no matter if it's hot, cold, you're hungover, you're tired, you're sick, stress at work, heart rate, you can't trick heart rate.
I was going to
So-
say that about being hungover, because,
I don't know why you would say that, Kimberly.
well, that would make your heart rate much higher. So
Yes.
then you
Yeah.
would need to run at a much slower pace
Right.
the next day.
To
Right.
keep your heart right.
Yeah, yeah,
But
keep your heart rate.
the thing is, if you don't obey that heart rate, right, the cost of that workout becomes significantly higher, right? And so it's like if you chose to voluntarily pay twice the price for something,
Right.
right?
Who would do
But
that?
you're still on a fixed income. fixed
Right,
budget.
exactly, right.
That's the other part. Like, it's
Yeah.
not a problem if you have infinite money,
Mhm.
but the problem is we're fixed on energy budgets here.
So I think that really helps people. I hope. If you have any questions, let us know on Instagram. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going on. We can't see any comments, but on Facebook we can. So any questions about what exactly heart rate zone training is all about, let me know.
Yep.
Before we kind of move on, I just wanted to ask you guys, what do you call a sad strawberry?
I thought we weren't doing jokes tonight. Didn't we talk about this? We talked about this.
What do you call a sad strawberry, Alana?
A blueberry.
Oh God.
She literally this afternoon was like, I'm not even doing jokes tonight.
Caesar's giving us a thumbs down in the back over there.
Listen, I didn't say they were going to be anywhere near good tonight.
Oh, look,
but
there's no viewers
you know.
left. Where do you think they all went?
I don't know. They're
Let's-
taking a break.
We'll wait for George to weigh
Okay.
in on that joke.
Yeah.
So so I feel like the next biggest question after like what is it is how do I
do it?
figure out how do I do it? How do I figure out what my different heart rate zones are?
Right. So there's a couple things though, right? When you get into this.
Gina thinks you're
Okay.
funny.
Thank you,
All right.
Gina.
Gina, don't encourage her. So
Sorry.
the first thing is to make sure that you're working with accurate equipment, right? So
Mhm.
you need to figure out what your heart rate zones are, okay? And don't be fooled by the automatic zones that your watch might create.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
So those zones are going to be based on like a formula with your age and different things like that. And it's pretty inaccurate. So it might give you a loose guess, but it's not going to help a ton. You want to make sure you have an accurate heart rate monitor. So either an optical armband works,
Mhm.
okay. A chest strap is sort of the gold standard and what we're really looking for. And then you have to go and do a heart rate zone test.
Yes.
So much fun.
Oh, that
Um,
doesn't sound
so-
fun.
So I've done these a couple of times
Hey,
Mhm.
Jay.
under John's guidance.
Boom.
Yeah.
And
How'd that go?
I mean, they're tough, but
I
they
think you
gave
said-
us some very specific ways to figure out my heart rate zones, which was really great. So
And I think you set a PR that year.
I did. I certainly did. So I think if I remember correctly, you do kind of like an easy 10-minute warm up, and then you want to do 30 minutes
Oh,
at a pace that you can sustain. But that is hard. It's
All
a
out.
hard effort, but an all out that you can sustain for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Mm.
So not going out
yeah.
all out right away out of the gate because
Right.
you
That's
have
a
to.
long time.
There's a learning.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve to it.
Yeah.
But if I mean,
Oh, Mary
not
won
that
the heart
bad.
rate
Mary, who
monitor.
won,
There you
she
go.
won one of the Garmin heart
All right.
rate
Good.
monitors.
So that's going to
so-
be great. Glad
Yeah,
you're
that's going to
tuning
be
in.
Yeah.
awesome for you.
So 30 minutes is a long time
Right.
for.
But here's the thing:
all
we
out-ish
only count the
run.
last 20 of the 30.
Right.
Right.
So this is the other thing is like you're doing a 40-minute run in total, but
Right.
it's the last 20. So you guys explain why the last 20 is so critical. Or don't.
No,
That's
God,
fine.
God.
It's because
They're like, we don't know, we made it up.
Because we read it in a book.
yeah. Because when it comes to heart rate, you're really trying to push yourself to your limits and get your heart rate working all out for a certain duration. Now there are a lot of different tests out there that you can do. The 30-minute one is by no means the only one that you can do. But in that 30-minute test, we just find that 30 minutes is kind of more manageable for people to stomach. You know, you don't want to.
Oh, I was looking for like the 10-minute version.
No 10 minutes.
the longer the,
The
test,
30-minute
Yeah.
is the manageable
Yeah.
one.
the
Yeah.
longer the test, the more accurate. But there's also some margin of error
This is
there
like bike
because
FTP.
yeah,
Same
it's
thing.
exactly
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that. So you want to try and find a test that is long enough. It's like a perfect match of like it's long enough to get accurate data, but short enough where you're not like
Yeah.
mentally getting out there. So the margin of error is smaller, but you're looking at what the last 20 minutes of that test is to see how fast your heart is actually going, how hard it's working for a certain sustained period of time, because we have to find out what your threshold is for the heart to be working. That's part of it.
So that's kind of like figuring out, that helps you guys figure out, okay, this is your threshold, kind of like your max.
Right.
And then from there, you can back out and go towards kind of like your tempo heart rate zone,
Mhm.
your kind of like zone 2, your
Mhm.
zone 1.
Right.
And it's not just a single number, right? It's called a zone because you figure out a range.
Yes.
Right.
So, when you're within that range, you are within that heart zone,
Exactly.
heart rate zone.
So how can folks at home
Yeah.
do this? Do they need professional help or what? Like how do
If you're a
they?
runner, I think you do need professional help.
Well,
Yeah.
right.
No. So you can easily go out. So
Yeah.
the first thing is you either want a treadmill or a flat section of trail.
Yep.
Right.
Or a track, go find a track,
Track works.
run
Right.
around in loops.
But like the section of trail, like I did mine on the Big Run 5K course. Right.
Oh,
You
we
got
got
a
a
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
Yeah.
I've
Um,
never seen that before.
so
Have you?
No, I like
No.
it.
What's happening
So
tonight?
I did mine on that because it's basically
Okay.
just straight out. It's
Mhm.
flat.
Yeah.
Ideally you don't want to have to turn around
Mhm.
because that will change
Yeah.
things a little bit. And so you're just gonna go out, you're gonna do it. The first thing is if your watch has like auto lap, like it
Take it
laps
off.
every mile, turn that off. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan for like turn that off all the time, but
No.
that's a separate talk.
Nope.
Um,
no, we'll have to
But then
discuss that.
you go out, right? And you're gonna go, you do your test,
The
and then-
warm up and then the
Mhm.
the
test.
test, right?
Okay.
So what we tell people to do is you just make sure you know where the manual lap button is on your watch, right?
Mhm.
You do your 10 minutes warm up, hit the
Lap.
manual lap button. You start your 30 minutes.
Mhm.
After 10 minutes,
Hit
manual lap.
Mhm.
and then you run 20 minutes all out. Okay.
Yep.
Then you're going to take that average of your that last 20 minutes,
Your heart rate.
your heart
average.
rate average,
Yep.
right? Not your pace. And that's what we're going to use to base your heart rate zones on. All right. And the good thing is in your Garmin or Coros, whatever watch you have, you can basically just plug that in as your threshold heart rate, and then your zones populate.
It'll
So the
adjust.
average of the 20 minutes is the threshold heart rate.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's going to be the highest, like in the highest zone that you have on your watch, that average is going to be the highest number that you want to be reaching, right?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
That's just what you're putting in as your threshold heart rate. So
Okay.
you can
You go
achieve above
Yeah,
that,
right,
right? If
right,
you're
right,
going into like say zone 5,
Mhm.
Got
right?
it. Yep.
'cause if you were doing a 2-minute sprint, you'd
Yeah.
be in theory
above
like
that.
faster than
Yeah.
that, right?
But
or
that's the
harder.
point where you're no longer able to clear the waste product
Right.
Yep.
as fast as you're creating it, right? So your body is producing more waste product than you can clear.
Zone 4.
There's an
Yeah.
infinite amount of time that you can do that before you
Yep.
just can't go anymore.
Right.
There's,
Okay.
there's really two, like with heart rate training, there's two thresholds, two big ones. Justin mentioned one of them, which is going to be at the high end of like high speed, high efforts. If you
Mhm.
guys have done 5K efforts at the end, that's one of those thresholds that you're looking at. The other one is where you should be under for like the majority of your training. So once you go from being able to run at a conversational pace, once you run too fast, you can't really talk at a conversational pace anymore. That's one threshold that you've crossed, and it's usually marked by inability to talk normally without having to take a big deep breath in between every few words, right? So you cross one threshold, and then Justin just mentioned another one. So those are two big targets when it comes to heart rate training, and that's represented by different zones. But those are probably the two big things that I think we talk to a lot of runners about, is being cognizant of those two like physical thresholds, and then you see how it matches up to your different heart rates in your zones.
Okay, so then once you get that number, you put it into your Garmin, then your Garmin or Coros, whatever, gives you your nice zones.
Correct.
Yes.
And then what? Now what?
All right. So now you have this.
Now I
and
have
then-
zones.
Then if you want to be really loose, right, you're going to try to spend 80% of your training,
Mhm.
right, in zone 2,
Mhm.
right?
Can we say 2 to 3?
2 to low 3. So
2 is hard for people.
2 is hard for people, right?
Yeah.
Now here's the
2
thing.
to 3.
If the zones are made for you, right? So if you did the test,
Right.
you should be able to get into that zone 2.
See, for
Right.
me, that's like a fast walk. I can't run at zone 2.
Well, then
know
you
what I
have to
mean?
do
You
a
should probably
heart
do a test.
You should probably do a test and figure out what your zones are.
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
It's like not happening.
Not happening. But
But we do see again, on social media, you see all these videos of runners being like, when you're trying to stick to a zone 2 run and like you go for like a
Keep having to
second and
slow
your
down.
watch beeps at you and you have to walk.
Keep
Right.
slowing down. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Chris.
so then Gina just asked, when I was doing heart rate training, I found that it made me walk more than I wanted to.
Mhm.
So
I think that's
Yeah,
one of the
so Gina,
challenges.
that's
yeah.
one of the challenges. And so basically there's a couple things there. One, making sure that your zones are made for you, right? Making sure you're accurately measuring your heart rate, right? Like
Right.
not using your watch
Only
wrist-based
just
one.
the wrist one.
Right,
No
don't
good.
use the wrist one.
We need good data.
Right.
Yes.
The other one, though, is figuring out if you are going up too high, then that's a sign that this is really what you need to be doing. And then in order to get the maximum benefit, you do need to be walking. Like that's what you need to be doing
Right.
because you have to train your body to get more efficient.
And so then as you do more walking, your body's going to become more efficient at that. So then suddenly with time, the run is going to maybe become zone 2, right?
Right.
Where it wasn't originally because you become more efficient.
The
Right.
example I always give people when I start to like explain this is you can start to, as you do it for a long time, you can start to find certain running paces that given like regular weather will be your zone 2 pace.
Mhm.
And so when I first started doing heart rate training, I was basically at like an 11-minute mile to maintain my zone 2, which is below a 142, right?
Right.
Then now that's somewhere around like a 930.
Mhm.
And so that's just from getting more efficient. Now, once I have that efficiency, I can choose to either go for longer or to go faster.
Right.
That's up to me.
And that's how you continue to build that efficiency.
Exactly.
Right.
But you have to put in that foundational work at the beginning to be able to do that. And that's where so many people get frustrated with it, because just like Gina was saying, they will not try. They don't want to have to walk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I think Kristen has
Yeah.
a really good question
Yeah.
here too, because Kristen's saying like her heart rate is naturally
Really
kind of high, and she feels like when she's doing her easy run, she's conversational.
Yep.
So is that like, how does that play into it with the data? If your heart
Well,
rate,
your natural, that as long as the zones are made for you, Kristen, and
Right.
we
Right.
make you do a test, then we'll know what your zone 2 is. And so, yeah, like John, what's your zone 2?
My zone 2 is pretty dang high. Like I'm getting close to like 150s, 160s, I think.
Right. And so I'm 135 to
My-
143.
My zone 2 is like 144 to 153.
Yeah, exactly. So there's
What?
What's yours?
well, mine is much lower than all of that. No wonder I can't hold zone 2.
But
Oh.
you didn't do a
But
test.
have you
Probably
done
should
it?
do
No,
that.
but
yet?
I mean, I'm like, you know what I mean? I've gotten the threshold. I've run 5Ks, right? Where it does the threshold.
No, but it doesn't
No,
auto
it
calculate.
doesn't
It
auto
doesn't
calculate it
recalculate
based
it.
on that.
Yeah.
You
plus
have
you
to
also
go in
need
and
it for like a
plug it
specific
in.
20-minute segment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So-
Kristen, there are two people. What like the coins that are termed are like you have an elephant heart or a hummingbird heart.
Mm.
And elephant's heart only pumps like 20 times in a minute, I think, or something like
Right.
that, or 12 times a minute, something like that. But you know, hummingbird heart just goes, and so I mean, I can still reach high 190s at like my max efforts.
I know, I was trying to find it.
And so some people are just you're built to be more efficient with each single heartbeat, or just a lot of them in a shorter period of time. So I think Justin also brought up a really good point with weather. There's one time where heart rate training is not reliable, and that's in extreme weather situations. So you don't want to do your test in like a really, really, really cold winter day, a really, really, really hot northeast summer day, right? Ideally, if you're going to try to figure out your baselines, you want to pick like a perfect spring day to do this, just to get your averages and to get your
136 to 153.
So
Yeah.
mine is not like that though.
Man,
But
I
mine's
don't trust it.
144 to 153.
Okay.
so
The other thing
not
is,
that far
I've
off.
seen a lot of
And I guess I
people.
did a lot of that,
Mhm.
so that was good. So good job.
Yeah. Good
So,
job, Kim.
I'm
I've
gonna
seen
get back to my margarita.
a lot of the people who have a hard time with their zone 2s, they feel like they have to walk.
Mhm.
Remember, you can't trick your heart. If you're stressed out or fatigued or
Right.
whatever it might be, your same effort level is going to require a lot more effort, right?
Mhm.
Like if you've ever tried to walk up and down the stairs when you're sick, you feel your heart pounding, you're out of breath. It requires a lot more effort just to do the same tasks.
Right.
So I found a lot of my runners that struggle to keep in zone 2, or say like, I feel like I just have to walk to keep it there. They're not getting the right sleep the days beforehand. They're Saturday, Sunday long runs.
Mhm.
They're working themselves hard at the end of the
Yeah.
week. And so, yeah, sure, your zone 2 is going to come a lot quicker because your body's shot.
Right.
So you almost have to put yourself in this situation to be able to still run at a
Right.
good
Yeah.
effort
Yeah.
with that zone 2.
You don't
So-
want to be hungover. You don't want to be
Yeah.
not
You
getting
want to
enough
be
sleep,
well rested.
well rested,
Yeah.
well
Even-
hydrated, good weather.
Even when we talk about that, so I tend to run in the morning, but
Me too.
if I
Me three.
don't have time to run in the
doesn't
morning
run.
and I decide to
No.
run at lunch at work,
Right.
then I basically start at zone 2
Yeah.
because
Right. Now you
happens-
have the stress
Yeah.
of the day.
I'm
and-
trying to rush out the door. I
Yeah,
only have
yeah.
a certain amount of time to get it in, and basically the minute I hit go, like
Yeah.
on my warm up, I'm
Yeah.
already at zone 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But so that's where
And yeah,
you just know, right?
Dehydration absolutely
Yeah.
can raise heart rate.
Dehydration raises
your
That's
heart
what
rate
I'm talking
up.
about. Being
100%.
hungover, yes,
Yeah.
is
I mean,
dehydration.
Can we just point out, Kim keeps coming back to the hungover thing?
because that's really the thing that's going to like impact your performance, though, the most. I
How many
think.
people
As
are
we're
running
drinking
hungover?
margaritas.
I don't know. We're here drinking.
I just want to just pause and just go back because I did, Georgia. I saw your comment.
I saw this also.
Is
yeah.
there something specific that we can talk about a little bit differently? Let us know, Georgia. I know you're saying kind of like in general, but was there something specific that we touched on that we can go back to and maybe?
Yeah, and I think like
about it a little
don't
differently.
obsess over this.
Yeah.
Like really, the goal is to move.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
get
But
out there and walk or jog or run or like
This has a lot to do with kind of what we've done with our training programs where we've taken them from distance-based to time-based,
Mhm.
and we tie that time-based into the effort of the run.
Bingo.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what zone training is, right? And so we refer to it as the rate of perceived exertion, right?
Mhm.
And so we have a scale of 1 to 10. And so a lot of times we'll make sure that our groups know this run today really needs to be at an RPE of 3, which is really an easy jog,
Right.
which should keep you in your zone 2 of your heart rate zone,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
In theory. Yeah.
In theory. And then it's sometimes we'll say start in, first 10 minutes in zone 3 and then build to a zone 4 or a zone 5. So we're
And then
using
if conditions are like, if
Right.
it's very hot out, we all
And-
know that we might be running a minute and a half slower
Slower.
pace just
Yeah.
because of the external
Yeah.
conditions. that
And
we're
I
dealing
would
with.
just also say that the other thing that will impact your heart rate is the type of terrain you're running on. You hit a
Mhm.
hill, your heart
Yeah.
rate's automatically going up.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think in general, you want to take a look at your average heart rate for the run, right? That's the other thing. We don't want you to get obsessed and every minute be looking at your watch. Your heart rate is going to go into that zone 3, maybe zone 4 on a hill,
Mhm.
even if you back off the pace a little.
Mhm.
But that's okay if it starts to really balance out and even out once you finish that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the best half marathon I've ever had in one of my triathlons
Mhm.
was down in Harriman, and it was
Okay.
very holy.
Holy.
It was
Holy.
holy. Actually, it
There was
was.
a lot of holes in
There
that
was a
road.
lot of holes.
Yeah.
It was
I
very
almost fell
hilly.
off the bike.
I don't know where the holy comes in. Wow.
It was.
Passover.
Yeah. Happy Passover. Yeah.
It was very hilly, and I remember having a conversation with my coach. He's like, "You're going to be walking a lot." He's like, "When you go up the hills, your heart rate is not allowed to get over X." And I was like, "But I feel like I'm going to have to walk." He's like, "Yeah, you're going to walk." He's like, "And everybody's going to be passing you, and you're going to be really
Yeah.
tempted to run." He's like, "I promise you're going to see them later on in the race."
I'm never tempted to
sure
run the
enough,
hill.
I walked
Yep.
a lot of the uphill, and then on the way down, I saw people flying by me. On the way down, I just kept picking people off left and right.
Yep.
It was one of the best half marathons I've ever had in a try.
Yeah.
And you really just got to listen to what your body's telling you.
Yep.
Once you get used to the efforts and the heart rates, it pays dividends.
I think walking the hills is a great strategy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
But
Why
that's
agree.
why,
waste
'cause
all
it limits
the
your energy
energy?
consumption.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to waste all
I
your
even
energy
employ
on
that strategy when Justin programs hilly bike rides in sometimes.
Mm.
Oh, John's walking a lot, and he's got
Okay.
gears on the
Well,
bike.
that's a different
Well,
yeah, exactly.
situation.
So Georgia, definitely
once.
read the info that someone sent you and let us know if you have any follow-up questions. But speaking of things people read, do you guys know what cows read the most?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Catalogs.
Oh god.
Catalogs?
Get it?
Can we
No.
get like
You
Ed,
don't
if we
get
can
it?
get one of those like
Here.
things to just yank her off the screen?
Catalogs.
Catalogs.
Just putting that out there.
So if anybody
If you have
has
to
specific
explain the
questions,
joke,
yeah.
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
right.
we could talk about heart rate zone
Yeah.
training all day because there's so many different avenues and benefits and things to look at.
I'll ask a question.
Is this a real question or a
It
bad
is.
joke?
No, it's,
Okay.
I hope we're done. There might be done. There might be one more.
there might be one more, but we might not get to it. Georgia, you shouldn't be upset about setting up a joke. That's terrific. I appreciate it. So how often do you think someone should do the heart rate
Oh gosh.
zone test?
Once in their life.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No one listened to Kim
I
tonight,
mean,
okay?
I try to do it once a training walk.
Yeah, because ideally you
doesn't
should be
do
getting
that.
more and more fit.
Right.
And so as your body gets more efficient, those zones should not apply to you anymore. And so once you find that you're really chomping at the bit to go forward and you're going faster and your heart rate's getting, staying the same, then it's like, okay, well, naturally,
Maybe it's time to do another
You know when
test.
it's
Yeah.
time to do. But also,
Okay.
they're a zone, right? So it's a range.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you might find that at a given effort level, you're at the top of zone 2,
Mhm.
and then you're in the middle of zone 2. You don't really need to retest it. You can sort of know where you
Yeah,
are
right.
and what's going on. But if you start to find that you're like, wow, I'm really living at the bottom of zone 2,
Mhm.
And
Maybe-
I'm really comfortable.
right?
Yeah.
I'm just super
Right.
easy. Like I'm not pushing myself at all.
Yeah.
Maybe then it's time,
Time
to
to do
retest
it.
it.
Okay.
and careful of the pitfalls. Don't get too tempted to do them, especially as you get closer to races.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Well, and if I remember correctly, I haven't done a heart rate zone test in a while, but you do also kind of want to prep for that, almost like you're prepping for a race day,
Yeah.
where
Taper for it.
Yeah.
you taper for it
you gotta be
the few days before,
Definitely.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim is like, Kim, we're doing one.
I
Pineapple
know.
Thursday. Let's
Oh
go.
my.
We're gonna do one.
I'm definitely not doing those. this.
She's not.
We'll be
She's
sexy.
Yeah.
Likes.
Right,
Really?
exactly.
This
So
is
not
not
interested.
my jam.
I
It's
think
my
I think that this is something that, you know, it gets a lot of like popular buzz now, right? Like a lot of people are talking about it. But the reason people are talking about it is because I think the general public is starting to get the hint of the advantage of training at lower effort levels.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I
And-
think it can apply. Like even if
Right.
you don't do the hard, like Georgia,
Exactly.
it's a little intimidating for
Yeah.
her. Like you can just really try to run 80% of your runs at a super conversational pace, and you're
Yeah.
kind of getting the gist of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kristen, definitely flat.
Yep.
Kristen,
Yeah.
you did late, but you want
Yeah.
flat, either a track, flat rail trail,
Yeah.
ideally not having to turn around.
Treadmill.
Yeah.
I mean,
Treadmill,
I honestly
right.
prefer a treadmill because it's just a controlled environment.
We did one at your parents'
I don't
house.
Yeah,
think I would
we
want
did one
to
with
do it
John.
on
I
the
wouldn't
treadmill.
want to do it on the treadmill.
And the best part about John's on the treadmill was that the heart rate strap died halfway through the first one.
No.
And
So you had to do it
he had
again?
to do it again. Yeah. And I wish that was the setup because that would have made it even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you just get comfortable being at that lower effort and not feeling like you need to be pushing yourself to the max,
Yep.
you're gonna start to
You're
get the benefits of this.
accomplishing the
Yeah.
same thing
Right.
without
It's-
all the data
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
it can be
Such
very
a hard pill
simplified.
to swallow
Yeah.
for runners, though, where
Yeah.
less really is more. But people do, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, whether it's like don't get tempted just for the Strava, data
Yeah.
or like the posts or anything like that. But that's you just got to get comfortable.
But I think you have to have a certain amount of volume, right? Like that's the other thing.
Correct.
So you can't go run zone 2 10 minutes a week and think that you're going to make a whole lot of progress, right?
Correct.
So
Justin
there
said it, yeah.
there has to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
balance
80.
between the
80%, correct.
80%.
80-20.
Yeah.
There's a saying 80% of runners do 80% of their volume over 80% of their threshold, and most of them get hurt.
Yeah.
80% of them get hurt.
80% of them, yeah.
I
So
definitely
one-
believe that.
One
Yeah.
trick-
Right, yeah, that was the other 80.
I believe that.
So one thing I'll do on some runs where if I'm feeling like I need to is on your Garmin, you can actually change what is showing on the face while you're running, and you can change it to heart rate zone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when I'm looking at my watch, I'm getting more of an accurate, like
It shows you
this is-
zone or heart rate, like zone.
it tells you, yep. So it
Zone.
shows
Oh.
you the heart rate and it shows you what,
What zone
zone
you're
you're
in.
Yeah.
It's like a dial. And certain days when I know I really need to make sure I'm sticking to zone 2, I'll make sure I start my watch and I automatically change it to that, because at that point, pace does not matter. It's about what do I need to do to stay in that zone. We've got Megan with a question. What's an arm optical heart rate monitor? If I heard that
We
right.
have one actually. Oh,
And do
moved
they
them.
sync
They were
up
right
with
behind us.
Garmin? How inaccurate are our Garmin watches?
Inaccurate enough.
Yeah. So your Garmin. So the problem with your Garmin watch is that it works by the light, right, on the
Mhm.
back, and if any light gets underneath there, it's going to mess with the accuracy of it.
Mhm.
So your wrist tends to be like a bony point,
Yeah.
and when you're running, your arm is moving, so the watch is moving, especially
You have to have it like super, super tight.
like numb
So,
fingers.
yeah.
type.
Right.
And so an arm optical heart rate monitor would go up here. And then it still works by lights, but it's an elastic band. It's super tight. No light can get in there. And that's quite accurate.
Mhm.
It's basically as accurate as the chest strap. The biggest difference you'll see is that if you're doing interval work, it might change slower.
Mm.
But for the purposes of heart rate zone training in general, it works just as good.
So I think if all you have access to is your Garmin, that's great. Maybe just take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. And that's where, again, really
Margarita salt?
training, yes, training based on your perceived effort is
Yeah.
going to be really
Yeah.
critical.
And also
right?
kind
So-
of learn your zones a little
Yeah.
bit. So like sometimes I can look down at my watch and be like, well, that's not right.
Right.
Like I'm not at 170 heart rate right now.
So last
and I
week when
kind of know when
we
it's
did hill repeats, and I looked down at my watch
and it said
at the top, and
135
it was like
or whatever.
127, and I was like, well, that's off.
Not
Right.
working.
You
You
know,
start to learn.
yeah.
So we do have a couple options here. We sell the Coros, the arm bands. So we have those here, and we do have 2 options from Garmin that are chest straps. We have the women's one that hooks onto your bra, and then we also have the Pro Plus. Is that
Yep.
what it's called?
Yep.
Which gives you actually some running dynamics data,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
actually pretty
So
cool.
does the women's one that hooks onto the
Yeah.
bra.
Yeah.
Gets all the
Yep.
same data.
Yep. So you get some actually cool running dynamics and
Yeah.
efficiency. I don't know. You can talk about that if you want,
Yeah.
but yeah, you get some cool stuff with that also.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I think to Georgia's question and to Megan's question, you can get totally geeked out and down into it, or we just wanted to kind of talk about it as a way to start paying attention to your effort on your runs.
Mhm.
So many times we just see people like trying to go too hard on every single run, thinking that that will speed up their fitness and their efficiency goal.
The
And in
opposite.
fact, it's actually hurting you.
Yeah.
And so heart rate zone training is just another way for us to keep ourselves in check.
It's a measurable
Yeah.
way to slow
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
basically. I spoke with someone this morning who said, I don't know how you run and talk. I can't run and talk. And I said, well, that's kind of the problem.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And I said, that's the whole thing. is
Therein
you
lies the problem.
should
In a
be able to
nutshell.
run and talk. Yeah.
You should be able to run, have a conversation, be social,
Yeah.
talk. The other thing too with heart rate zone training is that when it comes to the race, then all bets are on,
Okay.
right? And so
Yeah.
some people are like, "Well, what zone should I be in the race?"
Yeah.
No,
You shouldn't
it's a
even
race.
look at that. You
Race
just
day,
go.
Go.
Yep.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even be looking at it during a race. You should
No.
just be.
Well, it was funny because last week for hill repeats, we get to the bottom of the hill and Justin's kind of like, okay, so you should be going at 110% effort. And I was like, he's just kidding. And he was like, no, I'm actually not.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's the first time I've heard you say, well, what, like
Right.
go hard, go as hard as you can.
But even that, so we did how many minutes
4.
of hill repeats would you say? I mean, it was 10 or 15 minutes, right?
Not
it wasn't
even.
not even.
I mean, it was like maybe 40 seconds up each way.
right. It
Yeah.
was a couple minutes each
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
it was, 10 to 12 minutes,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But that was our like super hard training for the week for all the volume
Yeah.
that we're going to do this week.
The
which
rest
is
was
more
just
than that.
easy running.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
think too, like this could be a good thing. Like when you configure your watch face with like what's on there. I mean, I don't know if I'm a little bit of a nerd with this stuff, so I can tell you right now, my watch face has my heart rate. It has the amount of time.
75.
No,
What's
I
yours?
mean in the run.
Oh, in the
Like the
run.
data
Oh.
field that I look at when I'm running,
Right.
right? Has the heart rate,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of time I've been like
Total
total
time.
time,
Right.
lap time,
Mm-hmm.
and the time of day. That's all that's on
So
my
you
Kind
watch.
of
don't have
that.
pace.
I don't care what my pace is.
Oh, interesting.
Pace is a
Okay.
thing of the
Who
past.
cares
Yeah.
about the time of day?
Well, if
Oh,
I
you
have
have
to
to
be
get
ho-
back to work.
Yeah,
or
I gotta.
whatever. Oh, okay.
Pace is passe.
I generally have to be somewhere.
Pace
after.
Right.
passe.
Right.
So I have
welcome.
heart rate, total time, pace, and I think lap time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And every 5 to 10 minutes,
Yeah.
either drink or eat alarms.
okay.
hmm
Yeah. So
Yeah, Jen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Like that perceived effort, knowing how much energy you're expending. That's the key to like a great performance.
Yeah, and don't like underestimate walking hills. Like
Mhm.
we always get training group participants that say they want to run the whole way. That's
Yeah.
always a common goal that we hear. I just want to run the whole way, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But don't underestimate your ability to do even better if you walk during
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
difficult portions of a race.
The
Yeah.
longer you can run while keeping your heart rate the lowest possible, that's the end goal.
Right.
And so I love it now when I see people running, because I used to do the same thing. If I'm driving to work or driving at all, and I see people like at a stop sign or a crosswalk, and they're like jogging in place because I got to keep my heart rate up. It's like, no, chill out, man. Just take a break. Like,
Right.
you'll be able to go for longer if you let your heart rate come down a little bit. That's why we
Yeah.
say walk the aid stations, build in walks
Right.
into your
Yeah.
training runs and your
Right.
Yeah.
even your races. Sometimes when you let your heart rate come down a little bit, you're actually banking time and
Yeah.
effort there. So
yeah, I've
it's like
never
you
been
slingshot
sold
yourself.
that like run the whole way is like a
No.
great goal
No.
to have necessarily. We hear it a lot from,
Yeah.
especially from beginners.
Yeah.
That's a goal that they want.
Yeah.
There's a reason the Galloway method
yeah.
works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
anyway, it's just about that time for us to wrap up. But one last joke for you guys.
Great.
What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet?
Oh, I know this one.
Supplies!
Oh my god.
I knew that one.
Oh my god.
Supplies!
That was kind of funny.
Thank you. That got a little bit of a chuckle.
That was probably
but-
the best one of the night.
Oh,
Do you guys remember the like 2011ish that like clown fad where like people were dressing up as clowns and like chasing people?
No.
no.
You don't remember they were
Did
like
you clearly got into
Yeah.
it.
well, no, there was like there will be people that remember this. Like
Hmm.
it's happening again, and it's just important
Okay.
to remember from a self-defense standpoint. If you're attacked by a bunch of clowns, you should always go for the juggler.
Oh,
What?
all right, that's it.
Juggler.
Juggler.
I think we're gonna end there.
Okay. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. As always, if you have any other questions,
Let us know.
Let us know. You know where to find us. But again, don't over stress because then